Two families are desperate for answers after their teenage sons disappeared without a trace. The 17-year-old boys Matthew Nichols and Jordan Reimer were last seen on the evening of October 31st in Port Rupert on the northern edge of the island. Their families are holding out hope they'll be found safe.
So welcome to the program, Markian Tarasiuk and Christine Willis. How's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Delighted to be here with you.
Well, glad to have you guys with us as well. Of course, Hunting Matthew Nichols coming out this Friday, hitting theaters. For people, when I watched it, it was like, oh, so it's sort of like a true crime documentary that morphs into a found footage film. That was the vibe I got off of it. For people who haven't heard about it, Markian, what is the film all about?
Yeah, that's a great description of it. And it's about Tara Nichols, who 25 years ago, her older brother Matthew, Hunting Matthew Nichols, disappeared on Vancouver Island with his friend Jordan Reimer. So two boys went missing in Vancouver Island in 2001, and nobody knows what happened to them. So there's no evidence, there's no leads. They just seemingly vanished off the face of the earth. And now 25 years later, the sister Tara goes investigating what happened to her brother and makes a documentary about the process that she's about to take on.
Yeah. Now, with this film, it is, I've heard you talk about before that you really wanted to blur the lines between fiction and reality here to the point where you've made yourself a character in the film. And it isn't like you're just playing the director. You are playing a fictional version of yourself as the director.
Yeah.
So was that very much done because you wanted to give this sense of reality to the film?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things that tiptoe the reality line in this film, and the conceit of me playing the director is one of those, because I also just knew it was going to be a fun thing that we could eventually deploy in the marketing, where I could do things marketing in character and you just use my own Instagram. And Ryan also plays himself, Ryan McDonald, so that's his name too. So yeah, I just wanted to do this kind of meta quality to this film that I don't see very often, and just have fun with it. So I think it was about the the fun side of what we were able to do, I think, during our marketing campaign, because of that fact that I'm the director. And yeah, just add that little more. So if you're Googling it, because this will eventually get onto streaming, if you Google the film or Google my name, it's just me. So there's, again, a lot of confusion that could happen, I foresee coming up. Of course, being in theaters is a bit of a different experience. I hope nobody Googles the movie while you're watching it. Don't do that.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, kids.
Stop
Put your phone
taking
away.
your phones out. Jeez. During the film. But yeah.
No, that's awesome. Speaking of that, Christine, for yourself as an actor, obviously there is there can, or I should say not obviously, but there can be a difference between doing something that is found footage like this versus, say, a more traditional narrative in different projects. For you as an actor in that, what was there a big difference for you in your preparation for the role?
It was part of the mission that Markian gave me, which was to really do a deep dive into true crime documentaries on Netflix and Amazon. And I wasn't a fan of the genre. I'm a big fan of narrative fiction, detective thrillers. So it was very interesting to me to see real people in these documentaries. So that informed what I did a lot, the minimalism of the performance. And the other thing that I brought to the table was my father was a cop. So I'm very familiar with that kind of presentation to the public. And so I was able to marry those two influences.
Yeah,
Nice.
no, and you did a really good job with that. Of course, the second scene, when you return in the film, a lot of heightened tension in that scene, felt very realistic. I know that there was some improvisation in the film. Did you get to improvise at all during that scene?
I did. Markian and Sean Oliver Harris, the writer, everybody on set had the freedom and were trusted to contribute to the story. So yeah, I put my big fan of detective fiction. Like I read voraciously and I watch everything. So just this being a documentary style was the only twist that was new to me. So I really put on my hat of, okay, what is not being said that would contribute to the story? So yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Now the improvisation in that, I know that was something that Mark and you came to pretty quickly on. So was it a situation where you and Sean just would did you have a fully scripted scene and then you guys branched out of it, or were you guys like, well, here's the scene, let's see what we can do with it?
We originally was Sean originally wrote about a 40 to 50 page outline of the script. So the OG script of this movie is basically like an outline scene by scene description of what happens, because we had this very naive idea in our heads that, well, we'll just take this, and because we want it to feel so real, we'll just go to camera with this outline, very much like how Larry David works in Curb, right? He
Yeah.
just writes the outline, the situation of where the scene starts, where the scene ends, and then it's up to the actors to improvise. Then we found out very quickly that no production manager can schedule anything based on an outline. And no props people knew what they would need to do for the day. So we're like, oh, haha, I don't think we can do this. And then so Sean did write a formal script that is, and it's fun to see in the movie which scenes are scripted spot on and which ones are not. And the one Christine is talking about is one that's not quite spot on. But we would talk to every actor. I would talk to the actors, especially for a scene like that where the reality really needs to come through. Whereas other scenes are very exposition-y, so we can't really improvise around facts and dates and things like that. But I would say, and Christine, we talked about that scene for a long time before we got into it. Was here's where you're starting. This is your opinion. Here's where you need to end. This who's going to win the scene. But in Miranda, we knew that Christine had to win that scene. But don't let her win, Miranda, like Tara. So fight back and try to win. Do your best. And Christine, don't let her win. So it became this acting exercise as long as you stuck to the framework that Sean did and get the dates and times and facts right within that scene. Because sometimes an actor would improvise and I'd be like, "Hey, so you got the dates were wrong. We can't use that take. We can't. We can't. It was brilliant, but we can't use it." And everything was such a one shot. Every scene was a one shot, basically. That if a mistake like that was made, we'd have to just start the whole thing again, which is fine. But yeah, it was just a very much an exercise. But there was a formal script.
So Christine, on going back to that, then, like,
Yeah.
with that kind of pressure, not that it was intentional necessarily, but knowing that certain pieces of the script need to be a part of even your improvised dialogue. That was did you struggle with that at all? Did you find that like an interesting challenge on set when you're trying to? Because I'm sure that the days on set were limited on a feature like this.
Yeah, well, you got that right in one. As a Geek Hard radio, I'm sure your fans will be fascinated to learn the whole thing was shot in 12 days. So you hit the set and you were on task. You got it. You had to get the job done, right? Um, Pressure. I wouldn't say the pressure was to come up with the goods. The pressure was to contribute in a meaningful way to a group of people that I just fell in love with collaborating. Like when I said everybody on the set was on task, that's the cinematographer, that's the assistant director, that's the costumer, that's the person doing the makeup. There was no sort of, okay, go off into the trailer and get your makeup done. We were in a location, you were off in a corner getting ready. So it was so inclusive, and everybody on set that day was working towards the same objective. It was not just make the day, but contribute to the compelling nature of the vision of what Markian and Sean were going for.
Yeah, well, it's obvious that that vision has been achieved not only by we've seen the film, but also, the film has gotten at festivals numerous nominations and some wins. Of course, Markian, you won the Best Director at the Blood and the Snow Film Festival right here in Toronto. But I gotta ask, Christine, have you actually seen the film? Because I know you're afraid of horror films.
I am. Well, the first one was, I thought, oh, and so I took a very good friend with me in case I had to clutch somebody or, like this.
Yeah.
So I've now seen it 5 times because it's been a lot of fun promoting it.
So
But
you're dead to it now, right? You're dead
yeah,
to it.
well, I don't say it. I'll never be dead to it. But my
I'm dead to
daughter,
it.
my daughter saw it once, and I invited at the Whistler Film Festival, and I invited her to come to the screening in Vancouver, and she said, "No, I am not seeing that again." And she did this emoji. So,
Oh man.
Yeah, I totally understand. I do like horror films. I do watch a number of them, Christine, so I can identify in some ways to what you're talking about.
But he's
because
definitely afraid of the woods.
yeah,
So-
Markian, I'm not going to lie to you. It was difficult for the back half because I have a very strong aversion to what I like to call death. And this film, you really push that when we finally get to the woods. I'm just like, no, every decision. And that's something actually I wanted to ask you about, because looking at, for example, the scene that Christine has that we were just talking about, that wonderful scene in the middle of the film, between that scene and I found the one where the three of the filmmakers, yourself and Ryan and Miranda, watch the footage that is at the heart of that scene with Christine. These are two moments in the film that I think, personally, as I watched it, elevates the film beyond standard found footage, because you get your visceral reaction to what is being on screen that we don't get to see at that time, and the scene with Christine and Miranda is like the heart of the film. Like it gives it something that a lot of found footage films I find lacking, which is a strong reason for doing what they are inevitably foolishly going to do that gets everybody killed.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for saying that. And I would tend to agree with you. And those were things that Sean and I really talked about in the development of this. And the trick I'm deploying, I guess, whatever you want to call it, device, when we watch the tape, is to invite the audience in with us. Because if I just show you, it's showing my cards, it's showing the hand, it's showing the tape, and then the audience, you would be able to just say, well, that doesn't look real, that whatever. Like, you get to make your own judgments. But what's more interesting is if your imagination goes, you hear it, and then you have to just watch us discuss it, and then does that match what you thought it was at the end? Like, there's a much more, just, I think, a fun time with what I presented, which is, it's an invitation into the mystery. Now, you don't know, as the audience member, you've joined Tara and the gang in the same psychological place, because now this mystery is existing for you as an audience member, and you're just like, I need to know, right? I need to know. I want to see the tape. I want to see the tape. And people get really passionate and pissed at that point, that I'm like, yeah, that's the point. You're joining us on, is that real or not? What is that? Is that fake? And then the intimacy of Christine's scene and with Miranda is, again, something that I don't see in found footage, where it's just like, that's an 8-minute one take of just two people at a table. It feels like a play, and we're filming a play. And you are now, in the way Ryan was on the camera, the way it's very voyeuristic, but very small and quiet at times, and vulnerable and heartfelt. Again, a quality I don't see in found footage. Many times they're quite, cheesy, let's be honest, like all over the place, shaky cam for the whole time. And I was just like, I want to invite the audience into a different experiences, which is just like watching a play, but it's a found footage film, but like, and that was the difference maker to me, because that's the stuff I like watching. And, so thank you for saying that. And yeah, I think it does. That's the difference maker, is the quietness sometimes of this movie.
Yeah, the quietness, the stillness, the steadiness. Because, you guys do reference the Blair Witch Project quite a bit in some parts of the film. And of course, that's considered like the big original kind of found footage film that people think of. And that camera is shaking nonstop, which is
Nonstop.
all over the place.
Nonstop.
So was that a thing where you're like, I want to do a found footage film that just feels more coherent?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm like, the question to me was like, how do you make a found footage in 2026? In 2026, I guess the statement ends there, is because you watch documentaries today on Netflix, they are like feature films. My gosh, the quality sometimes on HBO. If we talk about something like Ren Fair, did you watch Ren Fair?
No.
It's an incredible documentary about a what is it? One of the medieval times kind of
Oh,
like festivals.
Renaissance
Right.
festivals?
Thank you, Renaissance festivals. The thing is shot like a feature film. I had to Google. I'm like, is this real? Are these all characters? And the cinematography, the way they shape the narrative, the shallow depth of field, it's just amazing. Anyways, all that I remember watching that and being like, yeah, this is the way, because we're so elevated now in the way that we can shoot and the technology that's available to filmmakers, even ones with no money like myself. It's like you can just make something look beautiful and feel beautiful. And that's what I wanted to do with the found footage film. I'm like, again, I haven't seen this, and we can get a score done that's really beautiful. And that's what that was to me, is that I also can't stand shaky cam. So I'm like, how do you then create a found footage film without shaky cam? So you can now see my brain turning of like how this whole thing started stewing in my brain to be like, I think we can do a found footage film that is not the Blair Witch, has elements. Of course, I can't hide away from the influence
Right.
nor the comparisons. Man, any found footage film gets compared online. It doesn't matter what you do. Which is crazy, because to me, that's the only genre this really happens. Like, if you make a baseball film, everyone doesn't go like, hey, Angels in the Outfield, what the hell? Like, you have baseball. You made a movie with baseball and you played a game. Well, what about that movie?
Yeah.
In found footage, that's what happens with everyone. It goes, it's not the Blair Witch. You guys didn't do that, you know? So it's just an interesting conversation, because I couldn't shy away from it in the film. I had to talk about it because people would talk about it. So I get ahead of it and be like, yeah, I know, than pretend like, that comparison won't exist.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. Yeah.
I was going to just say, like, to that point as well, Markian, I'm as Andrew knows, I'm a bit of a math nerd with some things, and I had to do a quick search. So I did films before Blair Witch that are found footage, and Blair since Blair Witch.
Mm-hmm.
There are 12 films prior that are classified as found footage films before Blair Witch. Since Blair Witch came out, to the end of 2025,
yeah,
to the end of 2025, 213.
Oh man,
That includes this film, of course, but 213 films. So like when you're talking about like why I brought up those scenes, like, those two moments, is because to me that was important, because we have had unfairly a lot of other reference points, and I think this helps your film go above because of that moment. Like, Christine, you're wonderful in that scene, because it's very rare to see a scene play out like that in a found footage film, where an actor goes from being like, I'm a talking head face, into like literally trying to explain why certain things were done and said in the past and back in 2001 and even to this day, and like her trying to reach to Tara, like to convince her to let this go, was just, it was great. It's a hands off to not only Markian and the team for creating the film, but your performance in it. It was just awesome to watch. I think it really helps this film a lot.
Thank you. It was a privilege and a pleasure to perform.
Well, as we said, a great film, of course, Hunting Matthew Nichols, hitting theaters April 10th. People should definitely check it out. I want to thank you both for coming on the program here and talking with us. We had a really good time with this film.
Thank you so much, guys.
Great, thanks for having us.
Wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Have yourself a good one.